I'm an alcoholic. I've said it before, and I'm not afraid to say it, but I've been sober since October 1st of 2019. So here in October will make 6 years of sobriety for me, which is amazing. Y'all don't know me, but if you knew me back then, you would think it would be amazing for someone like me to be sober for 6 hours, let alone 6 years. And yes, I was one of those kinds of drunks. My life was so close to being over so many times, and I'm so grateful to be here today. Now, I did have a request from one of my friends on YouTube to tell my story, kind of give a brief version of it, and to me, nothing can be more serious. So here it is. But I do want you to know right off the bat, hey, I'm not a doctor, okay? If you're having some medical problems or if you're having thoughts of self harm, please reach out and get the appropriate help. I have to say that legally, right? Despite the things I may think. Of course, you can comment below and I can give you my thoughts. But yeah, this is going to be my story. I hope you'll stick around. It's going to get kind of dark, but obviously, I'm still around and I'm at peace. So thank y'all so much for listening. Let's begin. Like most stories, let's start from the very beginning. I was born to two alcoholic slash drug addict parents. Now, the situation to this day, I still don't know the exact details, but by the time I was 3 years old, I was adopted by my adopted parents, my foster parents. My mother had left. She had left the entire state with another man, and I have not seen her since, and that's over 30 years. Frankly, I don't really care one way or the other. She might not even still be alive for all I know. But my father was different. My father hung around the neighborhood. He had a house and he wasn't that far away from us, literally a bike ride down the road, and I can go see him. Now, while they never forbid me from seeing him, my foster parents weren't too happy with me going to see my father, but I would go and see him occasionally. Although we never threw the football around or, ate pizza together or talked about movies or anything like that, right? When I was 10 years old, my foster father passed away from heart complications. So, from age 10 up until, well, I became an adult, I was raised by a single mother. I remember my foster mother was always warning me about the dangers of drugs and alcohol. And of course, I'm a kid, and what do you do when you're a kid? You just say, okay, I won't do it, don't worry, I'm not going to do it. But I never understood why, and how could I? I had no idea, I wasn't told the truth. One time as a kid, I remember my father's house was actually on fire, and my foster mother and I drove down there, before the ambulances and fire trucks. And yeah, I saw my father being drug out of a home filled with smoke by two other men. And you have to imagine the sight that I saw. This big, towering man that I looked up to, looking pathetic, being drug out, one man on each arm. Like, I didn't understand it at the time, but I know now that he had actually started cooking, but was either so drunk or pilled up that he actually passed out and forgot there was something on the stove, which nearly burned his house down and ended his life. But my father didn't stop drinking. He didn't stop doing drugs. By the time I was 15 years old, I'd already, I'd been living a normal childhood, making friends, hitting on girls, playing video games, you name it, right? One time I came home from school, and when I was talking to my foster mother, my uncle actually showed up. And he had said, hey, just so you know, your father is unresponsive right now. They're having a hard time, and you might want to go see him. And I didn't waste any time. I immediately ran to my father's house and I stormed through the door. And like, I want to be serious about this, but y'all know the scene in Danganronpa when they discover a dead body? It was basically like that. Like, the music in my head just shifted, the world shifted, like I saw something I wasn't supposed to see. And I saw my father laying there on the ground, deceased. There was blood pooling around him. You see, he had actually collapsed and hit the ground so hard that it broke his nose. I'll never forget that sight. It was actually pretty horrible, right? But my father was deceased, and I had to go to his funeral, the second father I had lost at this point. Now you might say, well, that should have stopped anyone from drinking and drugging, right? Well, not me. Hmm. When I was 17 years old, I went to my first house party that had alcohol there. Good friends of mine. I'm not mad at them at all, but they convinced me to try drinking for the first time. So I did. I was scared, but I wanted to try it. They showed me a bottle and they said, "Hey, this bottle of alcohol, this is clear alcohol. That means it's easier for you to drink." Okay, I had no idea. They said it's called Everclear, right? And you have to just drink it. I said, "Okay." So I tried to drink it and I thought I was going to die. If you know what Everclear is, it's pretty strong, right? And so, yeah, by the time I was done nearly choking to death, we had a party. And while my other friends could drink and just take it slow and have a good time, I didn't. I liked it way, way too much. And I had to drink and I had to get drunk. And I got so drunk, that was my first night getting drunk, that, I was just out of it, right? Vomiting, falling over, things such as. But I was a kid, and you could say it was my first time drinking, right? There were some other parties later on, but I wouldn't get really drunk again until after I was 18. When I was 18, I joined the military. Yeah, some of y'all might not know, but I'm actually a Marine, or I was a Marine. Now, you probably know what young Marines do when a bunch of men get together and they drink. Now, I actually didn't drink during these years that much because I was underage, but it did happen. No, my drinking didn't get too bad until I was out of the Marines and I was already past the age of 21 when I could buy my own alcohol. It became a lot easier. I kept my fridges stocked with beer. I remember I had a girlfriend one time, and it was Sunday night, and we were talking on the phone, and she asked me what I was doing. I told her, "I'm making a drink." She said, "Don't you have to work tomorrow morning at 6 o'clock?" And I was like, "Well, yeah, but I'm an adult, and I want to do an adult thing, why not?" And that should have been a sign, right? So I would continue to drink, and it would get worse and worse. When I was drinking, I made a fool of myself. I caused problems for my friends. Obviously, I drank and drove, which I'm not proud of, by the way. I was inappropriate with women. I got into fights. It wasn't a good time for anybody. When my friends could drink and just, have a good time and not pass out drunk, I had to pass out drunk every single time. I could not help myself, right? The first time I went to jail, yeah, take notes because I go to jail quite a few times, right? First time I went to jail was we were at a bar. My friend drove us home and he got arrested for not DWI, for reckless driving, just of all things. A part of me thinks the cops were being easy on him, but this isn't his story. But I got arrested because I was in the passenger seat, and you know what they say, drunk in public or something like that. I actually can't remember now. But I got put in jail for the first time. Jail sucks, especially if you're not used to it. The idea of just being behind bars and not having an escape and being in there, no privacy, people treat you like hell. It sucked. But I got out the next day. It really wasn't a big deal. I mean, yet. So I got out, I kept drinking, kept working, and I was younger, I could take it, but it just kept getting worse and worse. I had problems with work. There were times that I would drink on the way home from work and I would see how many I could drink because I had like an hour drive. I would be drunk at work. I mean, it was nuts. I began to have some withdrawals if I did not drink in enough time, between drunks. And that's a real big problem. We'll get into that more later. And finally, I had my first DWI when I was on my way home from the beach, doing God knows what now that I think about it. I was arrested, and that was my first DWI. But I got out of it. I just paid a fine. I had money back then, so I hired a lawyer. And it was no big thing, just whatever, slap on the wrist, don't do it again. But a couple of years later, I had another DWI. This time I had a gun charge too because I had a weapon in my vehicle. I forgot it was in there, but whatever, they tacked it on. I had a second DWI. This time I had a breathalyzer in my truck, which that really sucks. You have to pay for it, and it's just a mess. But yep, and I didn't, but it didn't stop me. That one I actually managed to beat. I actually managed to get that one taken out, expunged from my record. Even though I gotta say I was guilty, the way the cops handled it was very, very poor, right? So I got lucky. See, I keep getting lucky and I keep not learning my lesson, right? And then a couple of years later, which wasn't that long ago, I had another DWI. So if you're not counting by now, that should be my third DWI, right? Which is very, very bad. But things were just out of control when I got out of jail that time. I was running out of money, was running out of jobs, and I had to drink. Like if I stopped drinking, the withdrawals would kill me, right? Like seriously, if you have withdrawals, like you need to understand it's not being weak to take a drink. It could save your life. You should go to the hospital if you're having alcohol withdrawals. My withdrawals were so bad at some times that like I would pass out drunk in the middle of the day, wake up in the middle of the night, go to my fridge, find out there's like 6 or 8 drinks in the fridge, and I would panic. So I'm like, how am I going to make it until 8 a.m. in the morning so I can buy some more? Yeah, it was that bad. While other people were going to school or work or hanging out with friends and family, I was up there first thing in the morning buying beer just so that I can live a normal life. And it got to a point where I needed to drink more and more and more. I knew at one time after I drank a full 18 pack of beer and I was still kind of withdrawing a bit, that this is a real big problem. Now I know I'm saying this and some of y'all are rolling your eyes. You're like, well, come on, no one can survive that. Well, when you're an alcoholic, your tolerance builds, right? Trust me. And I just kept drinking and drinking. It was a big problem. There was that one time I was finally ready to take myself out. I was done, fed up with my life. And I did try to take my own life. And I got very, very lucky. I don't want to get into the details, but like, let's just say a couple of inches probably would have ended my life. But I'm not going to go into more detail. You can figure it out. And I was done. During my drinking, throughout my entire drinking, I tried to quit. I tried to do things. I had a counselor. I went to therapy. I talked to chemical dependency counselors, LCSWs, right? I took medication from the VA that's supposed to help you stop drinking. I tried to taper off. I tried to schedule my drinking. Nothing worked. Nothing. I mean, I'm sure it might work for some people. It didn't for me because I didn't have the discipline. I wanted to stop drinking, but I just couldn't. The withdrawals were way too bad. And if I'm being honest, I wanted to keep drinking. And that's a big problem, right? You understand that. So when I was at my wit's end, I didn't know what else I could do, you know. So I decided to do some Google searching. And I searched up local AA meetings near me. Okay. And not only did I find an AA meeting, it was only about a 10-minute walk from where I lived. And on top of that, it was in a half hour. And I took that to mean serendipity. I took that to mean I have to go. It's too perfect not to. So I went. When I walked into that room, I met a group of older men. And when I talked to them about my problems, they understood. They got it. They got me. And they didn't judge me for the things that I said. They wanted to nothing but help me. They didn't ask for anything other than for me to not drink and to come back. They didn't ask for any money. They didn't ask for me to do anything that I didn't want to do. So I decided to keep going. And I managed to get sober. And I met a lot of good, strong men in that program. And what I've come to realize, I know many of y'all, again, have clicked off. You roll your eyes. You probably cursed me out or accused me of being a Christian, or which I don't know what the problem with that would be. But AA is what saved my life, and I will swear by it. I will die swearing by it because I'm only alive today because of the program. Now, for some people, you may be able to go see a counselor. You may be able to take medication. You may just be able to willpower yourself away from it. But I know for a fact that if I was isekai'd, if I was literally take my soul and put it in another body, in another world, outside of my alcoholic body, I would still be an alcoholic. The problem is mental. The problem is spiritual. It's not just the flesh, although that doesn't help being that I inherited alcoholism. But AA is what saved my life. They held me accountable. They didn't judge me. And they were a good group of men. And to this day, I still go to AA meetings, and that's what got me sober. So if you're having a hard time, I would tell you the way that I told myself, what have you got to lose? It was during my AA meetings that I began to talk about my problems with my past, my problems with my single mother, my problems with the fact that my birth mother left me and I haven't seen her, the problems with just various other people in my life, my family members that didn't lift a finger to help me throughout all of this, just every problem that I had. There was one time I was going out to eat with one of these gentlemen in the meeting. We were going to another city. And in that car ride, I actually was talking to him about my father, about how much I resented my father. I told him, I said, if my father loved me, why couldn't he get sober? Why couldn't he stay sober? Why couldn't he be there for me? I was raised, by a single mother, and my single mother was not the best person, although God rest her soul, she's not around anymore, and this video's not about her. But I told him, I said, he should have been there to protect me from her. Instead, he was off drunk and passed out and doing drugs. And I resented my father, and I had resented my father since, I was a kid, and since before he passed. And you know what? That man told me the most important thing I've heard pretty much in my entire life. The most important thing. And I want you to really understand and listen to this, okay? He told me, he said, Red Showman, although that's not my name, obviously. Red Showman, maybe your father wanted to be there for you, but he couldn't. And that changed my entire life. And I began to hit me. Oh my God, I'm about to cry. Oh my God. He told me that, and I began to realize it. My mother left at 3 years old, and she never tried to contact me. She went to another state. My father was only a bike ride down the road. He never left me. I should cut this out, but I'm not going to, because I don't know. My father wanted to be there for me, and he tried, but he couldn't. And just like how I had done horrible things that I didn't want to do in my drinking, such as drinking and driving, being inappropriate with women, being short with my bosses, having a temper, things such as things that I regret in my drinking, I could not control myself. And I don't want to be judged for the worst few years of my life. So why am I going to judge my father for the worst few years of his life? And that completely flipped the script on everything I've ever thought about. The father in the home, marriage, everything, single mothers, you name it. Because it made me realize that, hey, how can I judge somebody for the things that they've done when I've done some pretty horrible things too? To this day, I remain sober, but I only do it one day at a time. There is no master plan. I'm not going to say I'm going to be sober till the day I die because I have no power. You know what I mean? All I can do is stay sober today. If I really want to drink bad enough, I'll say, hey, you know what? Put it off till tomorrow. And tomorrow never comes. And I have tools that can help me. Plenty of good, strong men. And I say men. There are women in the program. Plenty of good, strong men are in the program that I could talk to that can help me out. That could be that surrogate father figure. Even to me, a man in my 30s. Do you understand that even at 30 years old, I have to wake up every day and I have to wonder, how the hell do I be a man? Because I have no idea. I try every day to be stronger. I try every day to be better, but I have to learn. And that's one thing that I think we've lost, although this might be outside the scope of this video. One thing I feel like we've lost in society is like male meetings, male meetups, like men meeting up and talking about things. Isn't that what the red pill is all about, right? Men getting together and sharing their experiences, strengths, and hopes. So you realize you're not alone, that you realize someone else has been through worse. If I talk about my nearly 3 DWIs, someone will tell me, oh, well, I've had 4. I've had 5. Oh, you lost a relationship? I lost 3 marriages. Oh, you lost the house? I have a pacemaker in my heart. You know what I mean? Like, it just keeps getting worse. But all of the bad stories I hear, we like to say put a yet on it, because no matter how bad it is, it could always get so much worse. The only thing that stopped me from drinking, and I'm about to shut up, I promise. The only thing that managed to help me get sober was I was sick and tired of suffering, and I wanted to do something about it. And I reached out for the program, and I did what they told me to do. And I can't say much more because it's an anonymous program. But if you're struggling and you don't want to go to that program, hey, you do whatever you think's best. You might curse me out, you might call me names, but what have you got to lose? So I'm forever grateful. And every day, although, I'm still in debt, I'm divorced, and let's be honest here, I'm having a hard time with money, but I'm at peace, and I'm frankly the happiest I've ever been in this moment right now. And life just keeps getting better and better. And I'm a long way off from that young man who tried to take his own life almost 10 years ago to be sitting here now talking to YouTube. Thank you for listening to my story. And again, I want you to know, if you want help, hey, I recommend you go to a meeting. If you want to talk to me, leave me a comment. We can maybe meet up on Discord or something. Or if you're having serious issues, go to a hospital, talk to a doctor, whatever you got to do. But I love each and every one of y'all. Thank you so much for listening to my story. I hope you don't mind my name change and the change in content. And I will talk to y'all all soon. Take care.